Thank you.
You're looking really good for 30.
For 30, yeah. Cool.
Hopefully you're going to celebrate, if not tonight, over the weekend.
I'm sure I will.
Good stuff. All right, so under disclosure of pecuniary interest, we do have one from Councillor Smith with respect to agenda item number 7B. And this is an issue that will be in camera tonight, and she'll be voting on all other matters. Under deputations, petitions, and public meetings, we have none. And under item number 4, unfinished business, we have the 3 items there. Any questions or comments on those items? Councillor Bray?
Yeah, I actually have one about the 4A, the creation of a business plan for the beachfront properties.
Mm-hmm.
So later on in this agenda, I noticed that the Beachfront Management Board is now listing this as a priority for 2018. So it's the December 7th minutes, and they have listed creating a business plan for beachfront properties as one of their priorities for this year. And I would just ask that all members of council maybe be invited to that session so that we have some input and we're included at the table. Because I believe as elected officials we should be responsible for establishing the plan for that property that we bought.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, moving on to item number 5, new business, Beachfront Management Board meetings. I do have a motion moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Councillor Eagle, resolved that Committee of the Whole received the November 2nd, 2017, November 16th, 2017, November 29th, 2017, and December 7th, 2017 Beachfront Management Board meeting minutes from the Chief Administrative Officer as circulated. Questions or comments? Councillor Bray?
Just a comment through you to the CAO. It was the December 7th meeting that had the priorities. Is it enough just saying that I would like council to be included in those priority setting? Or should it be formalized with a motion?
So Chair, just with respect to the listing, and you're referring to the listing that was in the minutes from December 7th. So that was a discussion that the board had, and I believe you're referring to item 10 on the list there where it says need to develop a plan for the future of the beachfront.
Yes.
Once the development plan is confirmed, then can determine what focus will be for the other areas. Is that what?
Yes, and I just thought that tied into our unfinished business of creating a business plan for the beachfront properties. And that was where I wanted to kind of marry the two together and just make sure that all of council and not just the beachfront management did that plan.
So, Mr. Chair, my understanding with respect to the board was with respect to the phasing of the development down there, because there was some discussion with respect to how the beach would be developed, and the board wanted to have an idea in terms of the development plan so that it could be aware of that and then focus on other areas. I can see the tie-in to the business plan.
So they're two different things?
They're two different things, but there is a relationship between the two, because the development of the beachfront is part of the business plan. So that's a component that's part of the business plan.
Yeah.
But when they're looking at leases and they're looking at other things, they wanted to understand timing and whatnot. So that was my understanding and my recollection of the discussion around that.
Okay, thank you.
I would concur with that, Joe, as they are two different things. The beachfront management plan, as I understand it, Mr. McNeil is working on that as we work through the setup with FRAM. That will then come back with a beachfront management or a beachfront business plan as to moving forward on that. All right, pardon me. All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the question.
Thank you, Worship. Having heard the motion, we'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Bifulci?
In favor.
Councillor Bray?
In favor?
Councillor Eagle?
In favor.
Councillor Smith?
In favor.
Mayor Smith?
In favor.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. And before I go any further, I'll just note that Councillor Stockwell sends his regrets. As you know, very sad that his son Chris has passed away, and Councillor Stockwell is with his family today. Moving on to item number 5B, is moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bifulci. The Committee of the Whole recommends that Council receive the report on the proposed study area for exemption the Greenbelt 2017 for information. Questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll call for the vote. Councillor Boulanger?
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi?
In favor?
Councillor Bray?
In favor?
Councillor Eagle?
In favor?
Councillor Smith?
In favor.
Mayor Smith?
In favor?
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. Pardon me. Moving on to 5C, the Director of Finance and Treasurer's Report dated February 13, 2018. Read the 2017 year-end memo. Madam Treasurer, did you wish to speak to this before I read the novel?
Only if council would like an overview or some questions answered.
All right, any questions or comments on this item from council? Deputy Mayor Byfolchi, join us. Jocelyn, please, thank you.
I actually sent Jocelyn a bunch of questions late last night though, so I was at county this morning, so I didn't get a chance to look at them until just getting here. But just for confirmation, then we're looking at adding $93,492 to the beachfront property management through their reserve. So just for confirmation, the reserve is currently in a negative of $2,631,102. Is that correct?
That's correct for you.
And the Main Street Market Reserve is $239,000 in the negative, and we're adding another $7,200 to the negative. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, other questions or comments? Councillor Smith?
Yes, with that, I just wanted to know overall, when I was reading through, it looks like our reserves are higher than, our total reserves are higher than they were in the last 2 years. So I just wanted to confirm that, correct?
Yes, through your worship.
Somewhere in the last bit.
I want to just turn to that page. I believe that is correct. We are contributing substantially to the reserves more than we drew them down.
That's what I wanted to confirm. So I think it's on page
So
1 here.
if I just look at the reserves schedule, we had 34 million as of December 2016, and we have 37 million as of December 2017 in the general reserves. And the discretionary reserves are about the same. And the obligatory reserves, we had 13 million at the end of December 2016, and we now have 18.5 million at the end of 2017.
So our reserves are in good shape.
They are very good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Ego and seconded by Councillor Belanger. That Committee of the Whole recommend to Council that it receive the preliminary 2017 financial statements for information, and further that the current reserve fund name Parks, Facilities, Recreation Reserve be renamed to Facilities and Recreation Reserve, and further that the deficit of $93,492 to the Beachfront Properties Management be funded through the Beachfront Property Management Reserve, and further that the following deficit amounts for capital be funded through the reserve as noted below. Property purchase, $853,214. We split 50-50 between tax rate stabilization fund and working fund reserves. And 2, Public Works, $86,803 for Public Works General Reserve. And further that the following surplus amounts for capital be transferred to the reserve account as noted below. Item 1, Recreation Event Facilities, $21,269, Facilities and Recreation Reserve. Item 2, Public Works Parks, $59,104, New Reserve PW Parks Reserve. Item 3, Public Works Equipment, $653,082 to Public Works General Reserve. Item 4, Fire Department, $26,512 to Fire General Reserve. Item 5, Library, $6,750 to Library General Reserve. And item 6, Main Street Market, $3,510, Main Street Market Reserve. And further that the following deficit amounts for operating be funded through the reserves as noted below. 1, Main Street Market, $7,265 from the Main Street Market Reserve. And 2, Beachfront Enforcement Board, $22,241, Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve. And further that the following surplus amounts for operating be transferred to reserve accounts as noted below. 1, Public Works Parks, $27,336 to PW Parks Reserve. 2, Administration GWL, $117,610, Administration Reserves. 3, beachfront maintenance, $34,634 to tax rate stabilization reserve. 4, PW winter maintenance, $52,259 to winter maintenance reserve. 5, policing, $71,255 to policing reserve. 6, multiplex, $18,300 to new reserve named multiplex reserve. 7, engineering, $398,063, new reserve named engineering reserve. 8, recreation events facilities, $20,426 to facilities and recreation reserve. 9, clerk, $9,000 administration reserve. And 10, public works parks EAB, $75,000 emerald ash borer reserve. And further, that $500,000 of the surplus operating funds be transferred to the capital asset replacement fund to assist in closing the funding gap for the asset management plan. And finally, that the remaining surplus deficit operating or capital funds estimated to be $193,000 be transferred to or from the working funds and tax rate stabilization reserve account on a 50-50 allocation between the funds. Madam Deputy, you're not going to ask me to read that again.
No.
Councillor Bray.
I just have a question. Just trying to understand the logic. So most of the amounts that are going to reserves or from reserves are connected. So the Main Street Market goes to the Main Street Market Reserve. Public Works Parks goes to Public Works Parks Reserve. But anything to do with the beachfront maintenance, the beachfront enforcement is going to tax rate stabilization reserve. So should that not go to a beachfront reserve so that we can track the costs of taking over management of the beachfront rather than just pulling it out of a general reserve?
Madam Treasurer.
Thank you. The beachfront maintenance and enforcement accounts, when they were established last year, they were established, I guess, after the budget had been already approved. And so those amounts were taken out of the tax rate stabilization reserve, and we continue to do that for the following year as well. The alternative being that they would be funded through taxation. There was never an intent to take them at that time out of the beachfront reserves. The beachfront management property reserve is strictly for the management of the properties only, and that's the only items that go into that reserve account. Same with the Main Street Market. The beachfront board didn't exist until 2017, again after the budget was approved. So that in 2017 will come out of the general reserve, and in 2018 it will come from taxation. The general reserves probably are what's confusing a little bit in that all of the general reserves, some of them are specifically identified, such as public works, and have a specific task attached to them. Whereas the tax rate stabilization reserve and the working funds reserve, those are really the real general reserves. So any other purpose other than those specific accounts that we've labeled all come out of those two reserves. And that's why you see at the end we put it to 50-50 to those two reserves. Does that help?
It does. So because the expenses go through the beachfront maintenance, we can still track what it's costing us
Through
despite
your
being funded, right?
Yeah,
So
for the maintenance for the property.
Yeah.
The maintenance on the properties, yes. For the beachfront maintenance portion that was related to the parks, that you would follow through the beachfront statement for the enforcement and the beachfront statement for maintenance related to the park. Okay. Does that help answer?
Thank you.
All right, other questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. The motion having been read, we'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Bartolci?
In favor?
Councillor Bray?
In favor?
Councillor Ego?
In favor.
Councillor Smith?
In favor.
Mayor Smith?
In favor.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. And moving on to item number 5D, we do have an addendum on this item. Resolution that is moved by Councillor Ego, seconded by Councillor Belanger. That committee of the whole recommend to council that it approve the grants listed as attached in Appendix A under the approved process for the allocation of grants in the annual municipal grants program. Questions or comments? Do you wish to speak to the addendum, Madam Clerk?
Sorry, no.
No? Okay. All right, no questions or comments. Madam Deputy Clerk?
Thank you, Worship. With the motion having been read, we'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger?
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Buckholchi?
In favor?
Councillor Bray?
In favor?
Councillor Ego?
In favor.
Councillor Smith?
In favor.
Mayor Smith?
In favor.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5E, the Director of Finance and Treasurer's Report dated February 13th. Read the grants provided through Wasaga Resource Services, Inc. Did you wish to speak to that, Madam Treasurer?
Yes, Your Worship. Following the issuing of the staff report, I was speaking with the CAO and the staff from Wasaga Distribution, and I learned at that time that the WDI only considers these grants once a year, and they're approving their budget in February. So there's only this one window of opportunity today to consider these grants. So I did follow up with some of the standard applicants that had not yet submitted, and learned that some of them had thought sort of the town was putting them forward each year on their behalf, and they hadn't submitted and they wanted to. One of the organizations, Georgian Triangle Housing Resource Center, which is now under the auspice of Simcoe County, I contacted them, and the information received was that for 2018 they don't have an application to submit, but they would like to be considered going forward 2019 onward. They're in transition right now and not ready to submit an application. I did receive today and yesterday applications from the Georgian Triangle Hospice and the Simcoe Muskoka Dufferin Crime Stoppers. So I do have those applications here available for distribution now, if you would like me to circulate these.
Please do. Councillor Smith?
Your Worship, thank you for your clarification. These are the WDI ones, or, yeah, or addition to our budget?
Yeah,
No, these are WDI.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Belanger?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a question. I had inquired earlier because there was another organization that had talked about the availability of a grant, and I can't remember if I talked to the CAO or whoever I talked to, but if we haven't allocated all of the funds that we had budgeted for the town, my understanding is that quarterly we would consider additional grants. So in the case of the one that wasn't prepared for the WDI grant, there would still be an opportunity for this year to put in a grant request. No guarantee that it would be forthcoming, but I believe there is still budgeted money available to the end of the year. Is that correct?
Madam Treasurer?
so the WDI grants are separate from the standard grant process. So there's 12,000, maybe close to 13,000 remaining in our regular grant program, and we do have 3 applications already received towards, that would be on the next month when I bring them forward. So of that total budget that we have for the year of 39,000, we've got about 12,000 left.
Right, but my point was, is the organization that missed the WDI opportunity for this year, could they not request one from the town?
From the town, yes.
Right.
Just not from WDI.
No, I understand that, but we may want to reach out to them and say that they haven't missed their opportunity altogether. There's no guarantee that they would be approved money for this year, but they could still put in an application towards the town.
So if you know who that organization is?
Well, was
Councillor?
it the Humane Society? What was?
Okay, so I don't recall you and I speaking of that. However, WDI staff did mention the Humane Society as one of the WDI applications here, however, I have not reached
Oh, well-
out to them.
Sorry, which was the one, Treasurer, that you indicated was not prepared to put in a grant request at this time?
That was Georgian,
That's the one I'm referring to.
Georgian Triangle, it's under Simcoe Community Services now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So there's, okay,
And they did not want to put one in this year.
there for
Oh,
19, yeah,
oh,
right, okay, good. Councillor Bray and then Councillor Ego.
Thank you. The Georgian Triangle Humane Society, they presented to council, I think, November, December, a few months ago, and they basically had an ask then. So I'm not sure where that ask from council went, whether it went to bylaw because they operate the dog and cat program, or but maybe, like, I think that document is kind of in-house somewhere. So
So if I
maybe
remember,
we can.
if I remember correctly, last year, correct me if I'm wrong, I think council passed a resolution to give them some funding for the dog cat program. I don't think that was under the grants last year, so I think they're probably asking for that
Something on top.
same thing again, or long term. But I was surprised I didn't see them here as well. Yeah. All right, any other comments or questions? Oh, sorry, Councillor Ego.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question to the CEO. Last year, did we not stipulate a cutoff date for these grants?
Mr. CAO?
Yes, thank you. Yes, through you, your worship, yes, we have indicated a cutoff date, but council has also allowed other applications to come through during the year. So you have a cutoff date for the main body of the applications, but then as monies have not been fully allocated, you entertain applications during the year.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. So we have these other two applications. You're going to bring them, you want them considered today, or you're going to bring them forward in a future meeting?
I would appreciate them being considered today, as they are passing their budget next week.
So the only issue I see with this, Madam Treasurer, is all the other folks who have asked for grant dollars. There was, of course, a spreadsheet put out to council, and council filled that out, and it comes back, and then, oh, sorry, no, this is for WDI.
Yes,
My apologies, right, okay. So we would need, I guess, a resolution to consider them, which I see you've already added it to this resolution, right, Madam Clerk? Well, you guys are efficient, eh? All right, I'll read the question then. How's that? Moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Byfolchi. That Committee of the Whole recommends to Council that provide the following donations through the Wasaga Resource Services, Inc. 1. Breaking Down Barriers, $5,000. 2. YMCA Strong Kids Campaign, $5,000. 3. Crime Stoppers of Simcoe, Dufferin, Muskoka, $1,500. And 4. Hospice Georgian Triangle Foundation, $5,000. Questions or comments? Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wondered what the budget was for WDI as far as grants goes.
Madam Treasurer?
The amount is in the staff report, so I
Yeah,
just have to
that's
turn
fine.
that, to that staff report.
Confirm it.
I believe it's $30,000 approximately.
Okay.
30,000 and change.
All right,
Sounds
any other
okay.
comments or questions? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi. In favor. Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
In favor.
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, items for future meetings. We have no new items. And item number 7, closed session. With a resolution moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Councillor Ego, resolved that pursuant to section 239C, E, and F of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next more portion of Committee of the Whole meeting of February 13, 2018 be closed to the public to discuss matters relating to proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, litigation or potential litigation, and related to advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege. Madam Deputy Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi. In favor. Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
In favor.
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. We'll just give folks a few minutes to
hands.
That's right.
You might not want you might want to sanitize yourself.
Yes.
All right, so doing rise and report, council went in camera to discuss two items. One item, or both of these items were had to do with client solicitor-client privilege and the acquisition disposition of land. We've had those discussions, and I believe we've given clear direction to staff. Any concerns from staff on direction? Oh, seeing none. We're now out of camera, and we have two other motions.
Around the table.
Rub just down.
I use my own pen. I never get sick. I fell last week and I'm blaming you on that. Jarred my system.
Speaking of falls, Michael Jennings had a fall today in his kitchen.
Joe,
Yeah.
Joe,
And broke his wrist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he slipped, he kept his boots on when he went into his house, went into his kitchen and slipped and
Come on, April was there. She kicked those feet out from under. You're on my clean
broke
floor.
his
as
right
long as it
wrist.
wasn't
He
the
was happy, we're
snowboarding,
all
actually.
That's, wrists are bad too.
All right, thank you.
This seems to be a.
What are we doing to our
We
staff
got
here?
Chris.
All right, we have a motion moved by Councilor Bray, seconded by Deputy Mayor by Folsey. Resolved, the Committee of the Whole confirms the direction provided to the Deputy Clerk in closed session regarding the method of sale of land. Questions or comments? Madam Deputy Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Bifolchi.
In favor?
Councillor Bray.
In favor?
Councillor Ego.
in favor.
Councillor Smith.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor.
The vote is 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you. And now we have a motion moved by Councilor Ego, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Resolved, the Committee of the Whole confirms the direction provided to the Director of Finance and Treasurer, Director of Public Works, the CAO, and Michael Starr of Bulk Star McNabb LLP in closed session regarding the water meter issues. Madam Deputy Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. With the motion having been read, we'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Bifolchi.
Opposed?
Councillor Bray.
Opposed?
Councillor Ego.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor.
The vote is 3 in favor and 2 opposed. The motion is carried.
Thank you, and there's nothing else. This meeting is adjourned.